And then we are gonna chop our garlic and ginger. In the past, people have mentioned the camera because I only have one camera, so I kind of did a little mixer. So I'm actually using my camera phone instead of my computer. So hopefully you get a better view of what I'm doing. And feel free to always comment and let me know what makes things easier for you. As far as the classes go, we try to help whenever we can. So your feedback is super important. As you can see, if you use the butt of your knife, it's a really good way to peel your garlic. That is a trick I learned. How much oil do you put in a pan? It calls for 1 tablespoon of oil. You can use any oil you have on hand. I'm gonna use avocado oil. If you know me, that's the oil that I choose to saute with, just because it has a higher smoke point. But feel free to use olive oil, canola oil, any oil that you have. I don't wash my mushrooms. Mushrooms, they're like a sponge, so they hold all that extra water. I spot kind of check them. So if they are extremely dirty, I'll just take a paper towel, I'll wet it down and just kind of wash off all that excess dirt. But you know, I've never washed them and I'm still here. So I think that's okay. So I'm actually gonna put my garlic and my ginger right in with the mushrooms because we're gonna saute them all together. And now here is ginger. Just gonna break off a little piece and trim off all the skin. And you know, it's about a tablespoon or 2. If you really like gingery things, you can add more. And you know, I don't really like to use exact measurements. So I'm just gonna go with what I think will work. Mix this. And then also another way for ginger is if you have like a grater works great too if you just want to grate it, and that gives you a finer chop as well. But we're just gonna go old school today. Can you use water, broth versus oil? Yeah, you can always use a broth instead of an oil. I mean, pretty much all you want to do is get it so it's cooking. So anytime that it calls for an oil, if you want to sub out, you definitely can. All right, so our pan is heated and we just chopped our garlic and our ginger and our shiitake mushrooms. Like that. Now I'm gonna add in my oil, about a tablespoon, like I said. We're gonna let that heat up, and then we're gonna add in our aromatics. I do want to let you know that now would be a good time too to actually press out your tofu. This doesn't have to be super dry tofu, but it is a denser if you keep the water in it. So what I like to do, you don't need anything super technical, is I actually just take 2 plates and then I take my tofu and I put it in between the 2 plates and then I squeeze on it. Sorry, water. And then if you let it sit there, you can even put something heavier on it, like a bowl or like a glass or something filled with water, and it'll naturally just kind of press down. So you can take off all that extra water. So if you are making it with me, you can do that while your oil is heating. And it looks like our oil is heated. So now we're gonna add in our mushrooms, our ginger, and our garlic. All right. So basically what we're gonna do is something called sweating the mushrooms. And the mushrooms have water in it, an excess water. And when you're sweating it, you're just going to take out all of that water. And then once you take out the water from the mushrooms, that's when they're going to start to cook and they're going to start to brown and break down. So while these are doing that, we are going to make the hot and sour mixture, is what I like to call out. Abra, are you cooking with us? Okay. Now that I know that some people are cooking with us, I will try to slow down a little bit. Sorry. I just get so excited, but yes. So we're gonna chop our garlic, our ginger, our mushrooms. We throw it into a pan. We have about a tablespoon of oil in there. We're gonna let that sweat. And now we're going to make our hot and sour. So our hot and sour, you're gonna take a glass container and it's gonna be 2 tablespoons of coconut aminos or soy sauce. I like coconut aminos just because I try to cut down as soy, and then I actually don't do gluten. So this is a great gluten-free alternative. You can also use tamari if you are gluten-free. So we'll do 2 tablespoons of that. And we are going to use 2 teaspoons of rice wine vinegar. And we're going to do 1 whole lime. And that's going to give it the sour with the vinegar. Now, I like to use this little guy because it's already marked, but we're just going to use a whole lime, which is going to be about 2 tablespoons. Okay, there's 1. And then if it's getting too hot and you can see it starting to stick on the bottom, just turn down your heat a little bit. All right, so in a second, I already had half a lime in the fridge, so I just wanted to use that one. Okay, so here's the other one. Pour that in. And we are going to use, I like spicy, so I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of sriracha. If you don't like a lot of spice, I would recommend using maybe 1 tablespoon. You can also use sambal if you like to, if you don't have sriracha. There's that. And then we're just going to mix that together. Okay, so my mushrooms are brown, so that's good. So now we're going to add in our broth. Our broth is going to be a mixture of vegetable broth and water. You can use one or the other. If you don't have broth, you can definitely substitute it for just water. The broth just gives it a little more flavor. So we're going to do 24 ounces of broth.
Hey, Jess.
Yeah.
What did you say you can use if you don't have sriracha?
Sambal.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Can we add sriracha at the table for varying taste? Absolutely. You can add, and sriracha is great for soups, especially. So if you are a fan of pho, a reason why we use sriracha or sambal a lot is because it's already in like a liquid form. So then it's not like you're adding just dry spice to a liquid dish. So that is why we do that. So yeah, definitely add more sriracha if you would like at the end. You can also do chili flakes at the very end is too. Sambal is a chili paste. It is also from the makers of sriracha. You can find it pretty much, you can find it in the co-op in kind of like the international food section, and you can also find it pretty much anywhere. Cub has it, all the other, but definitely the co-op will have it next to the soy sauces and the vinegars and all of the other Asian cuisine. So we put in 24 ounces of the broth, and now we're going to add, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna turn it back up. So if you turned your heat down because your mushrooms were browning, now you can turn it back up. And I'm gonna add in 2 cups of water. I'm gonna add in my hot and sour mix. And I'm also gonna add in some salt and pepper. And it's gonna be about a teaspoon of each. Okay. So how are we coming so far? We doing good? Okay. So we're gonna bring this up to a boil. Now there's 2 things that you can do that we're going to add in once the broth comes up to a boil, and that is gonna be our, oh, you know what I forgot to add? This is my bad. But you can add it because it's not boiling yet, is I add just a pinch of sugar to cut out the acidity. You don't need to, but I just like to, it just gives it that little extra. I'm using monk fruit sweetener today, and it actually is a sugar substitute. It's from the monk fruit, and it's dry, and it has 0 glycemic index, so it's actually really good if you are a diabetic, and it's just kind of a good alternative to sugar. You could also use agave. You could use regular sugar. Yeah, any of it, really. So I'm gonna add that in before I forget. Okay. So let us do our eggs now. So the fun part of this is at the end, we're going to pour in our eggs, and that is where the egg drop soup comes in, and it's gonna form kind of ribbons, and it's really easy to do. Do I not have my eggs? I somehow misplaced my eggs, so I'm just gonna grab 2 eggs. So I will be right back. You ever have one of those days where you swear you did something and then you didn't? That is today. Okay, so you take your 2 eggs, you're gonna crack them into a bowl or a container or glass. And then you're just gonna whisk them together. And this is what you're going to add to your soup in a stream at the very end.
Jess.
Yeah.
Can you show the sugar alternative?
Sure. Hold on, I'm whisking. Aren't your eggs in the measuring cup already? No, they're my. Okay, right here. Those are the eggs. This is the monk fruit alternative, sugar alternative. You can also find this at the co-op. It is the closest substitute that I have found. It is also keto friendly and paleo friendly as well, because it is actually fruit. So definitely try it out and let me know what you think. Okay, so the other thing we're going to do now is we're going to cut our tofu into cubes. And I want to say, if you did want to go vegan with this soup, you can. There isn't really another substitute for the egg necessarily to get it for the texture, just because you're pouring it in. So I would just definitely omit it and just have the tofu, but it would still be just as good if that is what you wanted to do to make it vegan. Besides that, it is. Just finish pressing it. And then we're just gonna do a small dice on it, really. So first I like cutting it the long way. And then taking half of it, flipping it up, cutting it in the middle, cutting it into cubes. Perfect little cube.
Jess, what kind of tofu are you using? Like medium or firm tofu?
This is an extra firm tofu, but you can definitely use any style tofu you'd like, depending upon, there's a Korean dish and it's called sundubu jjigae, and that's actually with a soft tofu, and it's kind of similar to this style, and it uses a soft tofu, which is just as good. It just has a different consistency, so it's really just your preference. But I personally like having the firmer ones or the harder ones. And the more you press it, the harder it's going to be, like the firmer the texture will be. So if you want it firm, make sure you press out all the water.
And how much sriracha and chili flakes did you use?
So I didn't use chili flakes, I just used sriracha, and it was 2 tablespoons. Can you put the tofu on paper towels to get more moisture out, or do you want it more watery? So you can use whatever you need to do to press it out. I use 2 plates. You can use paper towels. You can use a tofu press. Any way works for you, that you can eliminate the extra water if you want. Okay, so it's coming to a boil, so that is great. And then also, while we have a little spare time, I am gonna chop some scallions just for the top. I like to add, as a garnish, some green onions on top. I really like this seasoning. It's called furiyaki. It's got like seaweed and sesame seeds in it, and it's really awesome. But I was actually out, I didn't realize my husband used the last of it. So we are just gonna use a mixture of sesame seeds. So this is just black and white toasted sesame seeds that you can put on top as well. Yes, I will do that. Teriyaki. And I also think the co-op has that as well. So definitely take a look the next time that you are at the co-op and you are in the international section. There's so many fun things that I think we have that you don't even realize until you do, and then you can play around with it. I think furiyaki seasoning is like the Asian version of everything but the bagel seasoning. That's like my comparison to it. I'm gonna chop these green onions. Now I want to let you know that this is a great starter soup. You can use this as a main as well. If you want to make it a main dish and you want a little more substance, I would add rice to it. You could just cook some white rice on the side, and then you could just pour this over it, and it makes it definitely more hearty and more filling. So this could be a main course for you. How's everyone doing that's following along? Are we all doing okay? I'm looking at both of you now, and I'm trying to figure out which one to look at. So, Alberta, I really like your screensaver. It's like something nice somewhere. I don't know, where is that? Is that the Grand Canyon? Few steps behind. Okay. It's all gonna come together though. And then I would love to see too, I always like to see how your results come out. So if you want, you can follow me on my Instagram. It's Just Delicious Living. And I always post when I have new recipes. I actually have a blog that that was posted in the beginning. So if you really like recipes like this, please feel free to follow, and you can see. And then tag me in your results tonight. I'd love to see the turnout and what you think of the soup. So it's the Colorado National Monument, Grand Junction. It's gorgeous. I would love to be there. But I mean, this place is okay too, I guess. Yes, if you want to add meat to the soup, you can definitely do that. I would actually recommend though that your meat would already be cooked. And then I would add it at the very end when you're adding your tofu to it, and it's just gonna warm it up. But especially with pork, you want to make sure that it's already cooked. So pan fry it and cook it ahead of time and then add it at the end. This is actually a really great soup if you do have like that leftover chicken or meat that you just want to kind of use up and you don't really know what to do with it. Throw it into the soup. It's a great way to get rid of it and use it up. Okay, so my soup is at a boil, which is what I want. So I'm gonna turn it down a little bit. And this is my favorite part. So you're gonna add in your eggs. I like doing it in a measuring cup because I have more control of how I'm pouring it in. You don't want to pour it all at once. You just want to do like a very slow stream. So, and you kind of want to get this soup going. So start by mixing it almost like in a circular motion. And then you're just gonna pour it in. Can you see that stream? So you're gonna just do a steady stream. And once it hits the soup, you're going to be able to see it. And it's gonna form like little egg, I don't know, droplets? I don't think droplets is the right word. It's just gonna come together and make delicious egg drops. I guess that's why they probably call it egg drop soup. Ribbons, there we go, yes, not drops. Droplings doesn't sound the most appealing. Ribbons, egg ribbons, good call. Perfect. All right, so your egg ribbons are in. They look great. If you want, you can definitely add more egg ribbons to it if you want it to be more eggy as well. Play around with it. I always tell people to make it their own. So whatever your preference is, that's what you should do. And now we're going to add in our tofu. If you're using other proteins, I would add it at this time as well. Smells awesome. Now, really, that is really pretty much all. I do let it come back up to a boil again, just to make sure that the egg is already cooked. But really now it's just a melding of the flavors together, but it is all cooked and the tofu doesn't really need to be that cooked that much more. So it's really finished. But I'm gonna let it bring up to a boil and I'm gonna ask if you have any questions for me right now. If you did want to freeze it, yes, I would actually freeze it maybe if you could just with the broth. So do your container, have your the vinegar mix, the hot and sour mix, have your broth, bring it together. And then once you reheated it, then add your tofu and then add your egg to it, which would really honestly take like 5 minutes. So it'll cut down your cook time for sure if you want to do the freezing. So yeah, Sharon asked the same thing. So that's what I will do. Honestly, this will hold up to at least 3 or 4 days. It never makes it that long in my house personally. We always eat it within like 2 days, but you could definitely store it and just make sure it is like a sealed container. Does tofu freeze? I mean, in general, tofu freezes. Not necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily freeze it in this because what happens when you freeze tofu is it expands because it gets more water because it's spongy. So the texture would be off. So if you do freeze it, just do the broth and then add your tofu and your eggs to it once it's thawed and you're reheating it. Oh, absolutely. I just wanted to bring this up to a boil, but yes, let's plate, let's eat, right? Okay. Side. So I know everybody is gonna make this within the week, right? And then let me know how it goes. Oh, I love this, so good. Okay. I'm gonna do some green onions. And then I'm gonna add some shiitake mushrooms. If you wanted to add some sesame oil, you could definitely do that as well. All right. So let's see if I can get a spoon for you guys so I can actually show you what it looks like. I'm playing around with that video, guys, so bear with me. Can you see it? That way. So as you can see, these are the ribbons right there, just like egg drop soup. And then you have your tofu and your green onions. And yeah, that is pretty much it. So hot and sour tofu soup, quick and easy, perfect for any weeknight, really, pretty much any time. And yeah, I hope everyone likes the class, and I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to see it all when you're finished if you cook it. And please follow me. We are doing another class soon. Maybe Addie can add it. The next class that we are doing, I believe it is, I don't know, I want to say that it is mung bean pancakes. And that is another awesome vegan recipe, Japanese style. It's got a great sauce, super fun and yummy as well. So thank you so much for coming, and I hope everyone stays well, and I hope to see you all again. So take care, everyone. Veggie pho. I don't know, it could happen. You just gotta put it in the comments. We can make it happen. All right, thank you for coming. See you all later.
Thank you all for joining us, like Jess said. And just to let you know, this class is recorded, so it will be sent to participants through email. It won't be available today, but just keep an eye out on your email for the video, as well as keep an eye out on our website as well. Our website is Seward.co-op, which is Seward.coop. And Jess does have another class, which is May 4th from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. And it will be the Savoy mung bean pancakes. You could sign up for that class as well on our website at Seward.coop. Again, that is Seward.coop. Thank you all for joining us today. Enjoy your soup. Have a great day as well. And thank you again. Bye.